All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Alexander of the Charlotte Street Foundation. You are here at Pier tonight. Thank you for being here. Charlotte Street Foundation hosts this once a month on the second Tuesdays. And it's a chance where we have an opportunity to sit down for 30 minutes and hear about three different artists and what they're working on, their influences, but also um, trying to connect these artists generationally, hoping that they can have skills sharing and resources and just building their own networks together. And it's during the pandemic, it's definitely a challenge to get out and do studio visits and see shows. So we started this program a year ago in hopes of trying to connect some of these folks. So we've paired different artists each month. And this month, we've invited some textile fiber artists who are also working in the realm of fashion as well. And we'll just kind of talk about that tonight. So we're super excited to have um, two artists based here in Kansas City. Whitney Manney, it will be one, and then Elise Stubbs, the other ones. Thank you so much for being here. And both of them were invited to create a 5-minute video with only 10 images of their artwork. So they get 5 minutes, just put it all down there. So it's a little bit of a challenge that we gave them, but I think they do a remarkable job. And think of these as a calling card, just to understand a little bit more. So my colleague Hope will be running these shows and we'll get them running. So to sit back and after the two presentations, we'll get into the conversation with the artist and feel free to converse in the chat and we'll try to answer questions if we see them. But other than that, thank you so much for being here and let's go with Elise.
Hey y'all, I'm Elise Wickelmeyer, also known as Stubbs, and I'm a tailor, educator, artist, and skateboarder based in the West Bottoms of Kansas City. I'm lucky to do what I love for work, and in 2021, I went full-time with my tailoring business, Stubbz Stitches Alterations. In addition to mending clothing, I teach monthly sewing classes at the Kansas City Textile Arts Center in KCK. My studio practice revolves around sustainability, community engagement, the life cycle of clothing, and empowering others through sewing skills. My art career began to take shape during my time at the Kansas City Art Institute. In the fiber department, my main emphasis was on weaving. Through weaving, I developed my language for texture and color. I was constantly exploring art making through unconventional and repurposed materials. Weaving fulfilled a tactile need in me. By weaving found materials, I created physical landscapes that bonded me to the world. This need to connect, to weave together both physically and metaphorically, is still in the forefront of my work today. After college, I started skateboarding. Skating is such a positive creative outlet, but when I started, I never saw people that looked like me. It's a male dominated sport, and for a woman or a queer person, it can be really intimidating to start. I wanted to see more girls skating, so in 2019, me and my bestie Shelby Gertz started Casey's first Women in LGBTQ Skate Collective board meeting. We host monthly skate meetups, fundraise, use skate supplies, throw events. This was from our Pride Month celebration with a banner I made, and just generally make women and queer people feel welcome in the skate community. Through board meeting, I was able to meet so many wonderful people and work with other great KC-based organizations. This picture is from a park cleanup at Harrison Street DIY, a community-built skate park in Columbus Park. I spent my years in school talking about the metaphorical weaving of communities, but this was the real deal. This wasn't hypothetical, this was action. And through these events, I started to see what really fulfills me as a creator, and that is community engagement and social practice. During this time, I spent my days in production clothing sewing. I owe my skills to my time in production, but it was never a satisfying job. Our society has become so desensitized to sewn products, we don't even think about the real humans who sew every single stitch. I wanted to use my sewing skills in a way that felt properly valued, that lessened my impact on the environment, and strengthened the relationship between maker and wearer. This first led me to upcycling, like these shorts I did with my artist friend Kim and Smuts. With clothing, I'm really attracted to bold prints and playful silhouettes. A friend of mine once described my style as psychedelic camouflage, and yeah, I really agree with that. These are some pants that I made using dead stock kettle cloth from the 70s. It features custom applique Stubbs back pocket logos. I work really hard to source interesting fabrics. Humor is really important to me in art making, and if a piece of clothing doesn't make me smile, then it's back to the sewing machine. Favorite garment I've made was this wedding jacket for my best friend. Shell is a beam of light, so I wanted to match that energy with this garment. I drafted a jacket pattern with wide cape sleeves that floated and flowed and looked really ethereal. Then, in collab with artist Ashley Arnett Shipley, we added a hammered coneflower design that started dents on the bottom of the sleeves and then faded out. Making clothes for the people you love is so, so special, and I'm so glad that I got to use my skills to honor their marriage that day. Now, the bulk of my work, tailoring and mending. I've always been a fan of working with found materials, and tailoring is the ultimate found materials project. We are made to believe that we should fit our clothes, but that's not true. Clothes should fit us, and by taking the time to tailor your clothes and mend your favorite items, it makes you value your clothing and in turn honor your body. I work hard to make my tailoring business as sustainable as possible. I reuse scraps from previous projects and always encourage clients to repair their clothing, like I did with this saucy cheetah mend. I love to create events that make sewing accessible to the public. Every month, I host Sip and Stitch at Peach's Vintage Collective, where people can bring their clothes to be altered, ask sewing questions, and shop vintage sustainable clothing. Another pop up I love to do is my live mending events. This is from a denim mending pop up I did at Oddly. I set up a sewing shop on site so people can really get a glimpse into how clothing is made. Mending is an act of care, and I hope that with my pop ups, visitors feel the love that sewers put into their clothing. To round out my practice, I teach monthly sewing classes at the Kansas City Textile Arts Center. This photo is of the final project in my Sewing 101 classes. I love this part of the class because new sewers are always amazed that they have just sewed a zipper pouch. But being able to demystify sewing and equip others with the skills to make things for themselves is at the core of my studio practice. At the end of the day, I love sewing, I love to create, and I love people, and I hope to continue to connect people to their community, themselves, and their clothes. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to do Whitney Manney.
Hey y'all, my name is Whitney Manney. I am a fashion and textile designer based in Kansas City, Missouri. I have been operating as a fashion label since 2014. I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Fibers from the Kansas City Art Institute in 2012. My sewing journey started at the age of 13, and I taught myself how to sew by remixing old clothes. I went into school knowing that the end goal was to be a fashion designer and entrepreneur. I didn't really figure out my niche until my senior year. I respected school as my last safety net and took a lot of risks to discover who I was as an artist and what I wanted WM to be. It was a summer study trip to New York City before my senior year that really helped me put the pieces together. For so long, I knew what kind of work I wanted to create, but I had a difficult time articulating it. Color, pattern, and texture are the main three elements of my work. I am inspired by the principle of street artists, the speed at which they create imagery, and the idea to work with your environment and not against it. I apply these ideas to garment and textile design. I always want to make sure whatever I'm creating complements the body and is there for a reason. But pattern is my real strength. I combine analog processes with digital to develop my own form of storytelling. Sometimes there's a narrative and history to the patterns that I create, but sometimes a dye bath just turns out real fly. Airbrushing and dyeing are my favorite hand processes, but I save every drawing, collage, photograph, and painting because you never know what could turn into the next masterpiece. My work is process heavy, like any other artist, but instead of hanging it on the wall, you can wear, wash, and repeat. And if I did not get into art school, the plan was to go to school for journalism and explore the fashion side of that industry. And while I don't write as much anymore, the amount of research and studying I do to design collections now satisfies that part of my brain. Showmanship is a big part of fashion. I've been a part of shows like Kansas City Fashion Week, St. Louis Fashion Week, and West 18th Street Fashion Show. But I really enjoy producing my own shows. This gives me a chance to take over a gallery space and create a world for my work. I had the chance to do this for my Prima Rebelle and Archimodis collections. So runway shows can be done in like 10 to 15 minutes. So being able to take over a gallery, build an installation, have an opening night, and allow the public to interact with that work for a few weeks after that is really exciting to me. It's been a few years since I've done one, but I'm thinking through what presenting my work looks like for me at this point of my career. Being a KC artist has been a great experience for me so far. I do get asked quite a lot, when am I leaving for the coast? And I really don't think that I need to right now. I've been able to make quite a bit happen right here in the Midwest. And it's important for me as a Black woman artist, born and raised in Kansas City, to be plugged into my community and be visible. Hopefully something that I'm doing or saying or creating can inspire the next KC artist that looks like me to keep pushing. Within the last 2 years, I've been able to leverage relationships that have allowed me to try new things, invest into my studio practice, and become a true full-time artist. I've been able to freelance as a wardrobe designer for Wendy's commercials, a music video collab with Vans, build a partnership with Joanne Fabrics and Crafts, and I've even seen my work on the small screen in the new Peacock drama Bel Air. It's also been really exciting to apply my aesthetic to non-wearable textile projects and explore new mediums like metals. I got to do a really fun project with City Girl Studios right here in Kansas City, and they make chicken footstools. So it was really awesome to be able to dress a chicken instead of a person this time. I'm always making sure to push myself and keep educating myself whenever possible. I'm designing wearable culture, so the world of WM involves a lot of different pieces. My goal with every garment and accessory I design and construct is to challenge you to wear your statement.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. Those are great. Thank you for repping Kansas City so well as well, and looking good at making that stuff. So like I said, typically there's 3 of us. The other artists couldn't make it tonight, had to cancel at the last minute, but that allows us more time to talk with these 2 artists, and this goes so fast. And so of course we know we can't get all the things in we want to learn about you, but hopefully just want to also be able to connect you. Elise is newish to graduating from the Art Institute, I believe, and Whitney being a little bit out of the wit, so maybe. Like,
yeah,
but
I know
like
this May it will be 10 years.
Well, I love hearing that you're saying that you are an officially full-time artist. Elise, you got 10 years, like sounds like that you have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's great how you're both adapting, utilizing your passion for patterns, designs, all of that, and putting that into this wearable art. And I just also really thought it was unique and cool the way that you're both, how you present your artwork in ways that can range from pop-ups and engaging socially with these peoples too. And I think so much like fashion and food, these things bring people together, and it's a common grounds that you can talk and bring other conversations out of it. So thank you for doing that. I guess let's see, who do I want to ask first? I guess my first question, I'll ask both of you, and then you guys can kick it off. What motivates you to get up and get into the studio, like have a strong like studio practice? Because if you're doing multi-jobs, you're doing all the other things, getting there, doing the commercial gig, but what's keeping you, like what motivates you to get into studio? Is that because you're living it, or it's because you're paying for it and you got to use it? Just maybe at least you go first, because you're probably a little newish to this with your studio practice, adapting right now.
Yeah, well, so I have a tailoring business that I run out of my studio. So I am there like every day doing this tailoring work, which sometimes doesn't leave for like the most creative, stuff to happen. But I think that just constantly being in my space, it allows me to break off at times to like work on things that really inspire me. And I am also just really inspired by like the interactions that I have with people and other people's relationships with clothing and stuff. And so I get to meet a lot of people, and a lot of people come to my studio like because of tailoring that inspires me in other ways to create, actual garments.
Awesome. Thanks.
Mhm.
What about you, Whitney? What gets you going? Is it in the morning first off, or are you a night owl?
No, I am a all day flamingo, I like to say. I'm not necessarily an early bird or a night owl, just however long it takes for me to get it done. Honestly, like I feel like I have never gotten off of my schedule from when I was in school of just consistently working. And I'm definitely one of the, I don't know if it's rare, but one of the artists that prioritizes time management, because I'm like, I know I have so many things to hit and get done. And especially, the points where I was working 2 or 3 jobs at a time and doing this at the same time, like I would still be in studio, 40 hours a week and working. So, you gotta like be very precise about what you need to get done, get in there, get it done, and keep it moving. But still allow for those days where some days I get in there and I am just staring at the wall, or I'm watching Jeopardy. But at least I'm in my space, and I'm consistent with it. And it's the thing about being a designer working in fashion is um, I am an artist, but I'm an artist that creates functional work. So I have to have an equal part of analytical skills and creative skills to make that happen.
That's a good segue. Let's talk about functional art a little bit. Maybe if you could both just kind of give some examples or how that got into your practice, that you said, you know what, I'm calling this wearables, and I'm not making a fashion line per se. That line that you both blend, I guess, blur.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know, like I said in my presentation, I went into school knowing that this would be the end goal. And I never had an intention on working or designing for anybody else. I just was like, I'm gonna do it myself, whatever, no big deal. And so because of that, I don't necessarily run like a traditional fashion label. And also, the fibers program, that is not a fashion program. There's a lot
Mhm.
that we do not do or do not learn that like somebody at FIT or Parsons would learn. So some of that stuff that you want to know how to do, and that's not no shade at all, but like, to be honest, some of that stuff you want to learn how to do, you got to teach yourself, figure out what works best for you. But like my craftsmanship skills and concepts and art history and all that stuff is so strong that I'm able to create the type of like wearable work that I want to. And it's not necessarily like your traditional fashion, your traditional runway fashion. So
Yeah, I like agree with that too, because like clothing was not even really on my radar when I was in school, and it was just not something heavily like offered to us in the fiber department. And but I felt like I always, the things that I would make that like connected the most for me were when when I would make wearables, or I would make things that people would wear, or like would be part of this like greater experience or something. And so I think that like after school is when I really started building those clothing making skills and stuff. And I'm just kind of really now in the last like year or so seeing that being like the forefront of what my studio practice is. But doing this presentation, I definitely saw like how the sensibilities and like my attraction to texture and color and all that kind of stuff that I found at KCI is definitely like still being applied.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation. We were
yeah, because a
interviewing.
lot of that stuff.
Go on.
No, I was gonna say a lot of the stuff that we learned, like in the department, like my brain could not handle being like, don't take this fabric or whatever to the sewing machine, because I'm just like, something has to happen with it. But then also that notion of like, I want to create clothing that can be mixed in with the everyday wardrobe, not necessarily like a gown with a 30-foot train. Like, I'm not here to make couture. I'm here to make, really make stuff that matches my sneakers. But but I'm like, if there's a niche for me wanting to, wear and do the most and more is more type of girl in everyday life, and there's got to be other people like me too.
For sure. Yeah.
Lisa, did you have any questions you'd like to ask Whitney after seeing that? I'm sure you've maybe run across her. Just, I know how connected the Art Institute keeps their, people.
Yeah.
Departments,
I
so
mean,
you probably,
I remember when you were in the drugstore, I definitely would like see
Uh-huh.
it was always like the craziest student, like, like
Yeah.
it was the most, it was so cool. But I don't know, I would love to hear just more about like the process that you go with like your textiles, because it seems like you do a lot of manipulation. I see on like your Instagram and stuff, like all the different stages you go through to get to a final thing. So like, what is that?
Yeah.
When do you know when to stop? Like,
when do I know? I don't ever know when to stop. That's my daggone problem. I do allow myself to go ahead and free fall, and then be like, okay, dial it back, because it's always, you can shift control Z in Photoshop and step it backwards a few times. No big deal. But I really, because my silhouettes and like the garments that I create, they're not over it's not like hand sewing, it's not like boning or like corsetry or like something super intense. So my pattern and my color skills really do a lot of that heavy lifting. So I want them to be big and bold and communicate. And a lot of times when I'm thinking about collections, I keep a big old list of stuff that I'm just interested in, and just design patterns based off of that, and try as many applications and mediums that I can. My phone is always screaming at me for space. I'm always snapping pictures of something like, oh, I could paint that and turn that into a pattern, but it's so hard for me to describe, because when I look back, just even as a kid and all that stuff, it's like, okay, I always thought in the form of pattern. So it's just like a natural way of thinking for me. And so sometimes I look at other people like, that doesn't make sense to you? That makes perfect sense to me. Like, why would you not mix that and that and that? And it can work. So yeah, it definitely is labor intensive. It all starts out as some type of hand process. And sometimes, I get stuff to a certain point and it sits on the shelf, and I'll circle back. And I'm always, even if I'm in a space where I'm like, I can't think of the next great design or I'm at least always, okay, let me update my swatch book, or let me just try this supply that I bought, I impulse bought. That's me kind of, in a way, that's sketching, I think, just in a, not pencil to paper, but, kind of working through those things. Yeah, cool. Document everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with documentation, let's ask about that. Do you have to incorporate work with others, photographers professionally, or are you able to do this yourself as a one-person show? How important is it to have those connects?
I feel like I don't get to collaborate and hire people as much as I would like to. Sometimes those deadlines come rolling and you're like, this would be very rude of me to ask somebody to try to come in here and shoot this by the time that I need it. But I mean, the life of the artist, right? We gotta know a little bit about everything to get the job done. So yeah. What about you, Elise? Do you?
I mean, I think definitely through my like tailoring stuff, I have to kind of like document a lot of things, because people like want to, they won't hire me unless they know I can do this stuff, so right. And I think that has actually helped me a lot more to like be on top of documenting like everything I do, and also like in progress things, and like before and after and all that kind of stuff. So I think that I've kind of just made that much more of like day-to-day part of my studio practice. It's just kind of like a regular thing I do now while I'm there. But I definitely did not start out that way. I remember in school I was like so bad about documenting my stuff. But
I
most
mean,
of the
because
stuff I do myself, yeah.
yeah, because it's like content creation is such also a big part of our lives. So
Yeah.
it's like the more that you can snap and keep track of, the better, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whitney, did you have anything else you noticed in her presentation, or advice or things you maybe with the social
I
practice
love the
part, or
little
that
weaving.
stitch and bitch, or the skateboarding, or
I know we need to skate together sometime.
Okay,
I did roller skate.
I did want to ask about weaving. I know, yeah, I roller skate. I do not skateboard. I love to go skating after studio too, because I would be so tensed up, like sitting at the machine like this all day. So it's nice to be able to relax. But I like looking at those. Do you still weave, or you just?
Yeah, I still do like small. I still have this kind of small loom that I built when I was in school,
Okay.
and every once in a while, like knock it out. But I recently been playing around with like I have a lot of random scraps left over from like tailoring people's stuff, and they'll be in these really crazy prints. So I've been shredding those into like strips and trying to weave with those. So that's kind of I haven't really done anything with it yet, but
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, have you like combined like weaving with the mending stuff a lot? Like, have you had a chance to? Because I was looking at a few of those. I'm like, I want that on the back of a jacket or something, or like,
I know.
What are we doing with those?
Honestly,
What's happening?
I hadn't looked at those weaving papers in like a minute, and I was just like, damn, I could just put those on like a jacket or something. But yeah, I am interested in like bringing back that more like textural type of thing to my work.
Nice. Do you ever manipulate any of that digitally? I mean, no, Whitney does, but like at least with some of those like the weavings and things like that, does that ever get played into another realm, that next level, next world?
Yeah. Not especially. No, I'm pretty much in just the one realm.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, this goes super fast. Like we're already there. Yeah, it's like a 7. So thank you both. Like I said, this is a calling card. I know both of you have a great Instagram, so maybe if you would want to share that too, because I think it's a great way to follow the process of how you're both working too. So I don't know if you want to share that or type that into the chat or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
But we can let the folks on Facebook and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
And this will also be documented and recorded up on our YouTube channel, and you can check out other peers as well from the past year. And just thank you so much for your time and what you're doing. Like I said, repping Kansas City, I love it. Congrats on the Bel Air stuff. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you for putting
you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well,
yeah. I'm just at Whitney Manney. So
okay, just at. All right, Google it. No. All right.
Yeah,
well, I hope you.
At Stubbz Stitches, I put in the chat.
I hope you two have the opportunity to meet each other in person or pop into when others have a studio visit. You know, I think that would be really beneficial and to see kind of what you're doing. And I'm going to follow up. Make sure you do. No. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful evening and take care and keep that studio practice going.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Have a good night.